So we'll start with today's talk with Emma, talking about gaming on Linux. And then later we'll have a talk about Ansible, which is probably going to be a little bit more technical, but yeah, hopefully you'll all still enjoy it anyway. Yeah. So, yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Robert. Everyone, good evening. Normally. Hello. All good. I'm gonna today just go through how condition of gaming on Linux. Probably many of you are interested in playing games on your Linux box. So it's very general. I'll go through the difficulties, how to set up your system, basically the software side of the thing. So first of all, you have to know what you're using, what distribution, what architecture, whether you are using 32-bit Linux or 64-bit, because these things will be essential to know later on if you are going to play games on your Linux. So you could use these two commands to find out your distributions. lsb release-a. It will tell you what distribution lsb. Especially, I'm guessing you'll be using Ubuntu, so you'll find out which release of Ubuntu you're using. I'm using 1604 LTS, as you can see. And architecture, you could type qname A, and it will give you this output. From here, you can see, if you see 64, that means you are using 64-bit Linux. And if you see just x86, that means you are using 32-bit Linux Ubuntu. So the most important thing, first of all, there are many aspects of gaming you have to know, but the most important one is the graphics. Of course, most games nowadays graphically intense, so there are graphics libraries to provide graphics functionality to games. And on Linux, there are two kinds basically. One is OpenGL. It's old type traditional graphics library used by many games, even on Windows, Linux, of course, and is supported by most games. But it's becoming outdated kind of because of it could not use your multi-core CPUs efficiently. So it's becoming obsolete slowly, gradually. So in the coming times, you won't see any games using OpenGL. So now you have Vulkan, which is new graphics library, very recently developed by Kronos, and it could efficiently use your multi-core processors or GPU graphics cards. And many games nowadays are focusing on using Vulkan, but it's still the transition taking a little bit of time because it's low level. So you don't have to worry about these things. It's just good to know. The second most important thing, the drivers. What are drivers? Graphics drivers, they provide accelerated support for your graphics library. So all the games, if you don't have proper drivers installed, your game will be running slow, unplayable. So you have to install proper drivers. And there are two kinds on Ubuntu. It's not like Windows. You just download the drivers or comes. Linux always provides different options for you. So you have two types. So there are proprietary drivers developed by the vendors, or you have open source drivers. what are the difference? So you can use either of these two. For proprietary drivers, if you choose to use these drivers will have many features packed, and they are fast. They provide a good experience for your gaming. But you could choose to use open source drivers if you like to. If you like to experiment with your graphics libraries, or there are some certain games which are playable on open source driver but not on proprietary drivers, because open source drivers are developed by open source community, and you can submit bugs, anything, and they are easily quickly fixed in open source drivers. So again, you have three options mainly. You can choose from for graphics hardware, the GPU, which will provide the 3D graphics shiny for your games. You can buy from nVidia or Intel or AMD. nVidia hardwares, they are pretty decent, but the drivers what we interested in, their drivers are pretty rich and they're suitable for all kind of games. And you can play, if you want to play latest games, you definitely pick nVidia graphics cards and install nVidia drivers, proprietary drivers. Then you have Intel graphics card built in onto your motherboards most of the times. And Intel, what they provide only open source drivers. So you only have one option, and these open source drivers sometimes will be lacking features, but performance wise also be lower than nVidia proprietary drivers. Then you have AMD graphics card. If you choose to go for AMD and install AMD drivers, you have again for AMD proprietary drivers and also open source drivers. AMD proprietary drivers, they are sometimes buggy. Many games they would not launch. Sometimes you'll find a lot of troubles just using AMD graphics card and their drivers. So first of all, you pick your graphics card from nVidia, Intel, or AMD. Then you set up your system to either use open source or proprietary drivers. If you are choose to use open source drivers, these drivers, of course, there's the only option if you have Intel onboard GPU. These drivers are installed by default on Ubuntu. You don't have to do anything else except if you want to run some 32-bit graphics games, you have to install 32-bit graphics libraries by yourself. And also, there is something called S3 texture compression. You have to be aware of because this feature of your graphics library is not installed by default, so you have to install them by yourself. By default, there is something called S2 texture compression, and which is okay for playing games, but not good if you want to get performance or quality. So you have S3 texture compression. You have to install this lib feature if you are going to use open source drivers. So how you could install? Either you can compile them, S3 texture compression. There are source code available for you to compile from this. You just pull all the codes from the Git, and you can compile. Or you could go this website, or there are other websites I'm not aware of. Maybe let's open up. If you go to the download site,
okay. Ubuntu doesn't have the libraries for S3 available. You can just do.
So the thing is, if you go to the Ubuntu software manager, Synaptic, is it? Synaptic, where is it? Yeah. Yeah, not available S3 by default. So you have to compile it from the source because of the licensing issue. They don't want to package S3 files into Ubuntu repository because it's patented and many licensing issues. And they are scared of mostly the Ubuntu people and all the Linux distribution. So basically, if you can install S3 feature, but you have to go to the source file and pull them, download them, and do it by yourself. So for ACE, actually, I created the binary. If you go to this website, and you can find for Ubuntu OpenGL texture compression library. You could download 16.41. If you just download this file and your desktop maybe here. And you have to extract the file TC, and you just set up execute password. Now they are installed into the system folder. Basically, these files will provide X3 but texture compression for your graphics library. Because this texture compression is important, so many games is still depending on this technique. The technique developed by S3 Graphics a while ago, long time ago, and they're still not making it open. So you still need this S3 texture compression for many games. But you could still run your games using S2, and this S2 is available in Ubuntu repository. You just have to search for libtxt. Package. I think command line is better. So here's the S2 library. Just mark for installation, apply, just install them. Should be fine. But you can only use one at a time, not both S2 or S3. So I recommend S3 for good experience. So with open source drivers, the only thing you have to worry about this S3 or S2 texture compression. And then you have to install 32-bit libraries. One way you could do that, if you open up Synaptic Package Manager, you can install this package manager from the Ubuntu Software Center, and you have to find libgl. You'll see libgl1-mesa-dry and :386. You have to install all these 386 comes after libgl1. So I already installed, so I don't have to install again. So that way you'll be able to run both your 32-bit games and also 64-bit games, because some of the games are still shipping with 64-bit binaries, developers. So you have to be aware of this if you want to play games. Again, Ubuntu by default, they ship stable versions of open source drivers. If you would like to try development versions of the drivers, they are available from the Git. Why you want to install development versions? Sometime these development versions of the drivers, they provide new features for your graphics libraries. Also, they will have performance improvements. At the same time, they're buggy. The games will crash, many games. But if you want to try out, you want to experiment, you go for it for the development version. So there is a PPA for development version called OEBuff. So if you just type in all these commands one by one, sudo apt-get. I think, do I have that installed here? At repository. Okay. And just you have to say yes to everything. Suppose I say apt-get add apt PPA. So now I'm typing in first of all, you type the first line. So sudo apt-get apt repository buff graphics. Okay. Drivers. Okay. Password. What's wrong? Yeah. Okay. So just press enter, and then next command sudo apt-get. It will take a while. So if you follow all these commands, after this upgrade command, you will have a perfectly new development version drivers ready, and you can check the version of the driver. Will come to the using a command called glxinfo, and it will give you a lot of. And in the output, you'll see what we are looking for: OpenGL version. Where is it? Yeah. Mesa devel. That means I'm using Mesa. Mesa is the open source drivers. They call it Mesa, open source driver for Intel, AMD, or so if you have devel, that means you are already using development version. If you don't see devel, that means you are using stable version in the glx info command. So, and you can always go back to the system defaults one, stable version, using this sudo ppa purge this command, and it will take, just say yes, and it will take you back to the stable version. You might have to restart your system to get that working. So this is the same. You can check your OpenGL version using glxinfo command, and this command by default is not installed on your system, so you have to install the Mesa utils package using sudo apt-get install command. Even after doing all this, you'll have trouble. You have to do one more thing. Sometimes some of the games, they will require your user to be in the video groups. So you can easily put yourself into the video groups. The user you're using user's system settings app or from the command line, but you can always install. Let's start from the beginning. 5. Okay. So if you install this package GNOME system util tools, you should be able to find a program called users somewhere. Okay, I think I haven't installed. Let's try to install GNOME system tools.
Tools, we dropped the S.
Huh? Did I? Someone else using, oh, Synaptic. I have to close this. Oh, you can use Synaptic to find that program here. System tools. Yeah, it's already installed. Okay, why go find? Additional drivers. No, users and groups. It's called users and groups. So if you open up this program, and now I have this. Okay, this is the user. If you go advanced, okay, and user privileges, under user privileges, you'll find use video devices. Tick that, check that one, and okay, I can't see okay. The other way you can do the same thing. If you go manage groups, look for video, and double click. So you have to check your user and okay. And that's how you add your user to the video group. Because some of the drivers, they use these video groups for accelerated their graphics. Otherwise, you could not do accelerated graphics.
You also need to log in, log out and log back in again.
Yeah, you need to restart your system. Yeah. So three things for open source drivers. By default, you'll have open source drivers. You'll install 32-bit libraries using libgl1, and you have to find Synaptic where. Okay. Or what you could do, you can use apt-get install libgl1, mesa, and rai, and i386. Yeah. This command, libgl1 should be G. Okay, so if you type this command, it will install all the 32-bit libraries for you. Just say yes, and just check whether the following packages will be upgraded. If you see something like the following packages will be removed, don't do that, because sometimes it will remove the essential packages. So it happened many times. I had to install the whole Ubuntu again because it's bad experience. So if you just see the following packages will be installed or upgraded, you are safe. So just say yes, type Y and enter. So this will install 32-bit libraries. Then after that, you will get the, what happened to this? Okay. You will install S3 texture compression library from where? From this on-theme blog spot. You could go there, and if you go to the on-theme downloads and look for OpenGL texture compression library, and just whatever version you are using, download that one. Like I showed you before, you have that TC file and extract that file, and just double click setup HS, and that will copy these files to your system folder. Or if you want to play a little bit, you could go to this website, cgit.freedesktop.org, and download all the files from there and compile the libraries and sudo install something. It's easy. So you have set up the video groups and can check your OpenGL graphics library using glx info. Then now, if you wanna play really, then if you don't want to use open source drivers, you could try proprietary drivers. If the open source drivers bothering you because of performance and many other things, I would recommend to go for proprietary drivers, because these drivers are meant to be for what you're looking for. So again, there are two ways you can actually install these drivers. The easy one is you just launch up this additional drivers app, and it's very easy once you open up this program. Do I have this program? Okay, additional drivers here. You just have to find for this app on your Ubuntu. Then it will give you all the options under the additional drivers tab. It will give you options for open source. It will show you currently you are using open source driver, and it will also show you proprietary drivers. So I don't have this system doesn't have any. It's only using Intel graphics, so it's not showing any. I guess I show you how it looks. Anyway, no, I've got a screenshot how it looks. So if you have an NVIDIA graphics card, so under additional drivers tab, you'll see NVIDIA. That's your graphics card GPU, and currently Ubuntu is using open source drivers. This one, there are different versions, so you just have to pick the proprietary one. There are many different, and apply changes, and that will do all for you. Like, it will install the proprietary drivers. You just follow the direction on the screen. And that's for NVIDIA. I guess the same procedure for AMD. They will give you options here under additional drivers. The other way, if you want to install drivers, you don't want to use additional drivers option app for installing proprietary drivers, you could actually pull the driver from the vendor's website, AMD website or NVIDIA website, and they will give you an installer, and you just use that installer to install the proprietary drivers. Before you use any of the installers, these installers actually, they have dependencies, so you have to install some packages like this sudo apt-get and curses, build essential, autoconf, automake, flex, all of this. And you just, for example, I want to install NVIDIA installer. I want to use NVIDIA installer, so I'll go to the NVIDIA website. NVIDIA, just type drivers. Yeah. Then you can pick your graphics card from here and pick your operating system, Linux 64, then search, and that's the driver you can download. But I already have downloaded that file. It's in, okay, where? Okay, downloads, not this one. Yeah. So this is the file I downloaded, the same file. If I go forward with this one, agree and download, this is the same file. So you just copy this file to your home folder, It's easy. And the thing with is to do with this driver, you have to actually go to the terminal and cut off your graphics to install this driver. But I'll show you. But I guess it will not cut off. No. The first thing with that file, you do the file that I just suppose you downloaded this file. You will go to the properties and say permissions, say execute anyone. Okay. Or you could do the same thing from command line. It's not important. The important thing then you have to actually go to the one of the terminals by pressing Control Alt F1 or F7, F2, F3. If I press Control Alt F1, yeah. So you have to log in using your username and password. Then if you type ls, you'll see the file, nVidia installer file. And first thing you'll do chmod +x. You have to type in the whole name and enter. Then you do sudo nVidia ./ the file name and enter. But before you type in sudo ./ you will actually stop the graphics server. This one, you will have to stop your graphics, your desktop. That's why here the installer is saying you do not appear to have NVIDIA GPU. Okay. Anyway. So you appear to be running X server, which is the graphics desktop. So the installer quits. So you log into terminal, stop the display manager. So how would you stop the display manager? You type sudo service lightdm and stop. It will stop this desktop, your desktop. And then you type sudo nVidia blah blah like ./ and just follow whatever is saying there on a screen instruction. And finally you'll have to restart your computer basically. Then you'll have the proprietary driver hopefully. But you can always fall back to the open source drivers using this app, additional drivers. If the proprietary driver you just installed by the installer is not working for some reason, you can still use this app to install properly your driver. And thank you. Is this too early or too late? Oh yeah, I have games. So this is an Intel system, Intel graphics. So it's using open source graphics drivers. When you compare the performance, there are websites which will like Horonix. This website is famous for publishing benchmark between different things like graphics benchmark, and they compare actually. It will show you comparison like Windows versus Linux for same graphics library, like how the drivers are performing on Windows and how the drivers are performing on Linux. For example, you'll find a lot of the information from this website. Give me a performance page. Okay, NVIDIA. So this article is saying nVidia, this one is proprietary graphics driver, and the Mesa is the open source graphics driver, GPU benchmark. Comparison. Okay. In many cases, Linux and Windows on par, but still there are improvements need to be done for Linux for the same NVIDIA and yeah, graphics card under both Windows or Linux. So this is the game Counter-Strike Global Offensive, and this for this game for different GPUs is performing quite well, looks like, but it's not showing Windows versus Linux. But if you follow this website, you will know a lot about the differences between Windows and Linux. But Linux is slowly, gradually catching up, but it's still far away in terms of performance. Yeah. So on Linux, you could run native games built for Linux. Many games you could actually install Steam and install your games, or you could run your Windows games. There is something called Wine. Okay, let's run a game. Maybe it's too much talking. Okay. What I'm looking for? Double data, no data. So I have all this collection of games. This Richard is one of the game. Rocket. Just extract to desktop. Cut super text. Good. Oh, this entirely different talk. Okay. So I'm launching one Linux game, native game. It's called Rocket. Hopefully it will run on my. Okay, it's running. Hardware Unity. Okay, it's playing well. Why the mouse is? I don't want to see the mouse. Sometimes it's on Linux. There will be problems with something like this, but it's not always. But it's an entirely different thing. Can I? Let's keep this.
Have you tried the Steam engine?
Steam. Oh, so there are many ways you can play a game on Linux, but I was hoping there will be another talk, separate talk for where to get games and how to install games. And because this talk I try to confine within how to configure your graphics. Graphics is the most important. Once you have graphics drivers ready, you're ready to install any games, play games, basically.
If you install the Steam engine, does it do a lot of this sort of work for you? Or
Nah, the Steam is the platform. They sell games, so it is a front end. Basically, it's an eBay for games. So you buy games through their front end. You can run the game, download the game, but yeah, they will not do anything for you installing the drivers. No.
I suppose if they got the SteamOS, though.
Oh, SteamOS is different thing. Yeah.
That's your
So as you can see, you can play actually games on Linux. This is one of the game, and it's not. I did not buy it from Steam. Bought it from Humble Bundle, something called. They're the one actually motivated developers for Linux, and they brought many indie developers into Linux. Yeah. And what they did, you just have to download the game file and just have to extract the file onto your home folder and you just basically straight away run the self-contained container. But Steam, Steam does all this for you. Again, you can also play this Linux game native. You can also play Windows game. I have one Windows game, so I'll show you quickly. Where is to play Windows game, you have to set up on your Linux box something called Wine. Once you set up Wine, you will be able to play Windows games. Install and play both. Where is it? I've got this Windows game called Apache S64, very old game. So I've got X-File Windows, and I can open it with Wine. And if I double click, it will open with Wine. It will be open. I guess it will be open. Yes. So I'm now playing a Windows game. Seek and destroy. Okay. There's something you have to remember about playing Windows game on Linux. The performance will be always below what you get on Windows. You'll get about 50 to 60% of what you get on Windows, on Linux. You might get lucky with some games because the way Wine runs Windows game is some of the libraries of Windows Wine emulates, kind of translates into Linux equivalent, and that's why the performance you get the overhead penalty on Windows. Is it running? Okay, yeah, this is a Windows game. Yeah, I like this game. Completed this game. Okay, so good. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Emma. Now we're going to have Justin talking about Ansible, and